Hello, my name is Anna Espino and I'm defending my capstone for physical education and exercise science. This is fall 2017 and my professor is Dr. Cindy Tanis. The title of my research is Reducing Obesity Through Physical Education. The reason I wanted to conduct this study is because I wanted to find a correlation between lack of participation in physical education and how it relates to motivation. The purpose of the study was to investigate obesity and lack of participation in physical education. The study contained two central research questions. The first one was, how does intrinsic motivation affect participation in physical education? The second one was, how does extrinsic motivation affect participation in physical education? Throughout the gathering of the data, there were several research that were linked to this current study. The first one was by Vera and Coca in 2012. Which examined the difference in perception of self-determined, such as psychological support from teachers and peers. This was a quantitative study that utilized 649 high school students with an age range of 14 to 18 years of age. It contained a survey that had 7-point Likert scale statements. The results of the data revealed that boys who participated in after-school programs perceived satisfaction and need of autonomy, competence, and relentlessness in extra regulation. Girls scored higher on perceived competence and support from peers. The study provided support about how student activity plays in the motivation to participate. Both genders showed a higher perception of competence when engaged in after-school programs. The next study was by Taylor, 2017. The purpose of the study was to test whether self-reported school and leisure time physical activity have a reciprocal relation with physical education motivation regulation as described by the self-determined theory. This was a quantitative study that had 635 participants with an age range of 11 to 13 years of age. It had 41 items in the survey. It was given to the students 2 times a year. It contained 7-point Likert scale statements. Results indicated a positive relationship in motivation in both physical education and leisure time. Motivation and lack of motivation to engage in activity affected participation altogether. Study was beneficial since it revealed how motivation may affect activity and performance. The third study was by Gutierrez, Ruiz, and Lopez, 2012. The purpose of the study was to examine the relationship among students' perception and motivation. It was hypothesized that based on the students' motivation and determination, teachers strategized to sustain discipline with the influence of motivation in physical education. This was a quantitative study that had 2,189 students with an age range of 13 to 17 years of age. The results link a positive intrinsic motivation in regards to interest, enjoyment, perceived competence, and effort and performance. Negatively related with tension, with pressure to excel and to succeed in physical education setting. This study was beneficial because it showed how intrinsic and extrinsic motivation influence performance. My study, Reducing Obesity Through Physical Education, it was a survey given to a 9th grade students using paper and pencil. There were 335 participants, 116 males, 216 females, with an age range of 13 to 15 years of age. 81% of them were Hispanic, 4% were Asian American, 3% were Islander, 12% were Caucasian, and 3% were African American. The students were enrolled in 3 different classes: physical education, weight training, or dance. The purpose of the survey was to analyze, study intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and how does influence performance. The survey was divided into 3 sections. The first section contained demographics, which had 16 multiple choice questions. The second section was for intrinsic motivation, which had 10 5-point Likert scale statements and 5 yes and no questions. The third section was 7 5-point Likert scale statements with 3 yes and no questions. The survey was given to the students during their physical education time and it was completely anonymous. The results of the demographic for BMI: females, 15% were underweight, 41% had a healthy weight, 23% were obese, and 20% were overweight. For the males, 20% were underweight, 36% had a healthy weight, 29% were overweight, and 14% were obese. 41% of the females and 36% of the males had a healthy weight, whereas 43% of the females and 43% of the males were overweight or obese. Only 6.39% of the females and 12.93% of the males engage in physical activity greater than 60 minutes a day, every day. In regards to sport, only 57% of the males and 35% of the females reported that they engage in physical activity outside of the school setting. In regards to intrinsic motivation, 75% of the males and 76% of the females are intrinsically motivated to participate in class regardless of the activity. 60% of the males, 67% of the females set and accomplish individual goals regardless of if there is a reward given to them. 69% of the males and 73% of the females preferred individual goals and accomplished those goals on an individual basis. 62% of the males and 68% preferred and accomplished individual goals. In regards to extrinsic motivation, there were neutral findings among the gender when comparing if they participated in class only when extra credit was given. 38% of the males and 63% of the females disagreed on this statement. Both genders are less likely to be influenced by external factors for participating with extra credit given. 77% of the males and 73% of the females enjoy participating with external rewards. 69% of the males and 68% of the females set and accomplish goals when rewards or extra credit is involved. There were several research that was similar or has similarities or to mine. For instance, in Taylor 2017 had a positive relationship between physical education class and leisure time that motivates students to participate. Another had similar results was Wallhead in 2014, which participants in class were successful by accomplishing goals when presented with external rewards. A study that was different was Pauline 2013 that revealed that 49% of the females and 41% of the males engage in physical activity with an external reward. Gutierrez in 2010, 70% of the students value external motivation more than internal motivation, and 39% of the value and emphasize on extrinsic reasoning only. There were several recommendations for future research. The first one was that this research is valuable to teachers, that it showed how does intrinsic and extrinsic motivation plays into motivating students to participate. It also could influence the curriculum because teachers are able to manipulate the curriculum to emphasize student needs. For the most part, and according to my research, at least on this perspective, students value internal rewards and internal motivation more than an external reward. They do engage in an activity when an external reward is given, but it's more feeling accomplished that they actually enjoy the most. There were a few limitations with this research. This research contained a small sample, which was only 9th grade students assessed. So it could be brought up to maybe include the rest of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, or potentially include younger students because the age range was only from 13 to 15 years of age. Another limitation the study had was that it only was given the survey to physical education students, and therefore student athletes were not assessed, so that could also alter the results. For future recommendations, to something that you need to be aware of is, or add to this particular topic, is how does BMI affect participation? That's something that it was very limited based on the data gathered. Another aspect to need to be considered is culture, gender, and age, and how those affect participation altogether. I want to thank you for your time and your participation.